For decades, humanity has extended its reach beyond our home planet, sending robotic emissaries further into the cosmic ocean. These missions have delivered breathtaking discoveries and expanded our understanding of the universe. However, for every triumphant landing or spectacular flyby, there are numerous accounts of ambition encountering the unforgiving void. This report delves into the stories of spacecraft that successfully broke free from Earth's gravitational embrace, embarking on deep space journeys, only to meet an unplanned end, whether through a crash, a missed target, a silent drift into the cosmos, or a failed attempt to return. In this context, loss signifies a spacecraft that has ceased to be under control, communicate, or fulfill its intended purpose. The critical distinction for this analysis lies in missions that truly exited Earth's orbit. This excludes the many launch failures that never left Earth's atmosphere or low Earth orbit, such as the Space Shuttle Challenger, Columbia, or early Soviet Luna and Mars missions that failed on the launch pad or shortly after liftoff. The initial hurdle of escaping Earth's primary gravitational pull is itself a monumental engineering challenge, and many missions do not even reach this stage. The spacecraft discussed here are those that conquered this first significant barrier, only to succumb to the subsequent challenges of deep space. This distinction highlights the dual nature of space exploration. First, the demanding task of escaping Earth's gravity well, and second, the even more arduous endeavor of surviving the vast, hostile environment of deep space to achieve mission objectives or return. This report will explore the silent monuments scattered across the solar system, the lunar probes, the Mars explorers, and the interstellar wanderers, revealing their individual stories, the reasons behind their failures, and the invaluable lessons they have imparted to us. The early space race was characterized by an intense sprint to the moon, a period marked by both audacious attempts and frequent setbacks. Many early lunar probes, particularly those from the Soviet Union and the United States, were lost after leaving Earth orbit, underscoring the immense technical difficulties of the era. The repeated failures of these early lunar missions, often due to guidance errors, power system malfunctions, or retro-rocket failures, illustrate the extreme precision required for lunar encounters. Early computing and propulsion systems were simply not robust enough for the complex calculations and maneuvers needed, especially for achieving soft landings. These incidents were not merely isolated failures, they served as critical learning experiences, with each crash or missed target providing data that refined navigation, propulsion, and landing technologies, ultimately paving the way for later successes. The Soviet Luna program, achieved some historic firsts, like the first lunar impact and the first far-side photographs. But honestly, it also experienced a pretty high rate of early failures. Many of these setbacks weren't publicly acknowledged at the time, with missions receiving only generic designations. For instance, Luna 1 in 1959 was celebrated as the first spacecraft to escape geocentric orbit, but it was actually intended to impact the moon. It missed its target by nearly 6,000 kilometers and ended up flying past the moon, becoming the first human-made object to enter solar orbit. It didn't return to Earth, and its failure was attributed to an incorrect trajectory. Then there was Luna 1960A, which aimed to photograph the moon's far side. It made it out of Earth orbit and reached an altitude of about 200,000 kilometers, but ultimately fell back toward Earth. The failure here was due to a premature cutoff of its upper stage engine, just 3 seconds early, because of insufficient kerosene fueling. Luna 4, launched in 1963, was supposed to be a lunar lander, but it missed, and became an Earth satellite instead. Even though it exited Earth orbit, it didn't achieve its primary mission, and didn't return to Earth's surface. Luna 5 in 1965 was another lunar lander mission that crashed into the moon because of a retro-rocket failure. Luna 6, also in 1965, missed the moon entirely due to a mid-course correction engine failure. Luna 7 crashed into the moon as well, this time because its retro-rockets fired too early. Luna 8, again in 1965, crashed because of a malfunction in its landing system. And finally, Luna 15, which launched at the same time as Apollo 11, was a Soviet sample return mission that crashed into a lunar mountain just minutes after starting its descent. NASA's Ranger program, which was designed to take close-up images of the moon before impact, also faced, some pretty significant challenges in its early days. Ranger 3, in 1962, was supposed to be a lunar impactor, but missed the moon by a substantial margin due to a guidance system malfunction, and it ended up derelict in solar orbit. Then there was Ranger 4, also in 1962, which suffered a central computer and timer failure. This prevented the deployment of its solar panels and navigation system, so while it did impact the lunar far side, it returned no data at all. Ranger 5 experienced a power failure shortly after launch, causing it to miss the moon and drift into solar orbit without completing its mission. Ranger 6, in 1964, did manage to impact the moon as intended, but unfortunately, its cameras failed because of a power issue, so no pictures were returned. This kind of partial success really highlights just how complicated it is to make sure every system works perfectly throughout an entire mission. These repeated failures, especially in those early decades, represent a collective learning curve that, over time, really improved success rates for later missions. The so-called graveyard of these early lunar explorers is, in a way, a library of lessons, enabling humanity to push further and more safely into the cosmos. Mars, often called the Red Planet, has, time and again, turned out to be a much tougher destination than the Moon. Its thin atmosphere, the vast distances from Earth, and the tricky orbital mechanics have, honestly, tripped up a surprising number of spacecraft. This has even led to the phrase Mars curse. The number and range of failures, missions lost on the way, failed attempts to enter orbit, landers that stopped working right after arrival, and just plain old communication breakdowns, really show that Mars is a uniquely tough nut to crack. The challenges are many: the long journey, the pinpoint timing needed to get into orbit, the complicated process of entering the atmosphere for landers, and the harsh radiation that can mess with electronics. Because of all this, space agencies have had to get a lot more careful, designing sturdier systems, adding backup after backup, and testing everything to the extreme. It's made Mars exploration a slow and steady process, with every step forward earned the hard way. The Soviet Union and later Russia have a pretty long and, well, challenging history when it comes to sending missions to Mars. Their efforts have been bold, but, honestly, a lot of them have ended in disappointment. Mars 1, launched back in 1962, lost contact when it was about 106 million kilometers from Earth. So it did pass Mars, but didn't send back any science. Then there was Zond 2 in 1964, which was supposed to fly by Mars, but its radio system failed along the way, so again, no data came home. The Mars 2 lander in 1971 crashed onto the surface and never worked, even though its orbiter made it. Mars 3, also in 1971, actually managed the first soft landing on Mars. A huge achievement, but contact was lost within seconds. Mars 4 in 1973 was meant to orbit Mars, but a transistor failure in the main computer meant it couldn't fire its propulsion system, so it just flew by and only sent back a few images. Mars 5 did get into orbit that same year, but it went silent after just 16 days, or maybe even a few days. No one is entirely sure why it failed so soon after arrival. The Mars 6 lander, also from 1973, was destroyed on impact with the surface, and Mars 7's lander missed the planet entirely. Fast forward to 1988, Phobos 1 was supposed to study Mars's moon Phobos, but a software glitch made it lose its lock on the sun, so it ran out of power and contact was lost. Phobos 2 did reach Mars and enter orbit, but it lost contact just before it could deploy its landers. The official explanation is that 2 out of its 3 voting computers failed, so the one working computer just couldn't keep things going. Even with all its advanced technology, NASA hasn't been immune to Mars's challenges. And, well, they've had some pretty tough losses along the way. Mars Observer, launched in 1992, was lost just before it was supposed to enter orbit around Mars. The most likely reason is that a fuel tank ruptured, causing the spacecraft to spin out of control and lose contact with Earth. Then there was the Mars Climate Orbiter in 1998. This one's pretty infamous. It broke up in the Martian atmosphere because, believe it or not, someone forgot to convert English units to metric units in the ground software. That small mistake sent the spacecraft too low and it burned up. It's a real reminder of how even a tiny oversight can have huge consequences, and just how important it is to double-check everything, especially units, at every stage of a mission. In 1999, the Mars Polar Lander and its 2 Deep Space 2 probes were both lost during descent. Investigators think a faulty signal might have made the lander shut off its engine too early, thinking it had landed when it was still in the air. Then there's Mars Phoenix, which landed successfully in 2007, and did its main job of finding water ice. But, after operating for a few months, it lost communication in November 2008 because its solar panels were badly damaged by the harsh Martian winter. NASA officially declared it dead in May 2010. So, even though it was initially a success, its early end meant it couldn't keep sending back data, which, in a way, still counts as a mission loss. The challenges of Mars exploration are, well, pretty universal, affecting space agencies across the globe. Japan's Nozomi spacecraft, launched in 1998, actually made it all the way to Mars, but failed to enter orbit in December 2003. This was due to a malfunctioning valve that caused a significant loss of fuel, which left the craft with, just not enough propellant for orbital insertion. Then there's the Beagle 2 lander, part of the European Space Agency's Mars Express mission, which was sadly lost on arrival on December 25, 2003. And in 2016, the Schiaparelli lander, a demonstration for the ExoMars program, crashed on the Martian surface. The failures of missions from various international agencies really show that the difficulties of Mars exploration aren't limited to specific nations or eras. Even with decades of accumulated experience, Mars remains incredibly tough to reach and operate on. This reality just highlights the need for international collaboration and honestly sharing lessons learned to help reduce risks and push forward our collective scientific understanding of Mars. Every mission, whether it succeeds or not, adds to a growing body of knowledge. While most deep space missions are aimed at specific celestial bodies, some are actually designed to venture far beyond, or they encounter unexpected fates that leave them lost in the vastness of space, or sometimes during a really complex return journey. The Silent Voyager's Derelict deep space probes. There's a unique category of lost spacecraft which includes those intentionally sent on trajectories out of the solar system, but eventually they just ceased communication. Their failure to return was, a planned outcome, but the end of contact actually marked an unplanned end to their operational lives. Pioneer 10, launched back in 1972, after a successful flyby of Jupiter in 1973, just kept going outward. Contact with the probe was lost in January 2003. Now it's a derelict spacecraft, silently heading in the direction of the star Aldebaran, which is about 65 light-years away. Pioneer 11, launched in 1973 after encounters with Jupiter in 1974 and Saturn in 1979, also continued its deep space trajectory. Contact was lost in November 1995. This probe is now derelict, drifting toward the constellation Aquila. The eventual loss of contact with Pioneer 10 and 11, decades after their launch, really highlights the finite lifespan of even the most robust spacecraft. Power degradation from their radioisotope thermoelectric generators, or RTGs, component failures over time, and the sheer immense distances over which signals have to travel, well, they inevitably lead to silence. This serves as a powerful reminder that even the most successful deep space missions eventually go quiet, underscoring the transient nature of our technological reach and the vastness of the cosmos that, little by little, engulfs our most ambitious creations. These silent probes become, in a way, unintentional time capsules, forever drifting through interstellar space. In contrast, other probes like Voyager 1, Voyager 2, and New Horizons, which are also on trajectories out of the solar system, are still functioning and, regularly contacted by radio communication. The Nix capsule, a space burial mission's failed return in 2022. So, a more recent and unique case of a mission failing to return successfully is the Nix capsule. The Nix capsule, launched in 2022, was a commercial space burial mission by the Exploration Company. It carried the cremated remains of 166 individuals and cannabis seeds as part of the Martian Grow Citizen Science Project. The capsule initially performed well, powering its payloads in orbit, stabilizing after launch separation, and even briefly re-establishing communication during re-entry. However, contact was lost just minutes before its planned splashdown. The company later confirmed the capsule crashed into the Pacific Ocean, with no materials recovered. This marked Celestis' first attempt at a return from orbit space burial. The loss of the Nix capsule, despite its unique commercial and symbolic nature, really underscores the fundamental challenges associated with controlled atmospheric re-entry and recovery. Even with all our modern technology, bringing an object back safely from space still remains an incredibly difficult feat. This incident also speaks to the nascent, high-risk nature of new commercial space ventures which, just like their governmental predecessors, will inevitably face similar risks and learning curves. The unforgiving void extends all the way back to Earth's atmosphere, demanding precision and resilience at every stage. The numerous deep space mission losses, while distinct in their specifics, reveal common threads in the challenges of space exploration. Understanding these recurring issues has really been instrumental in driving innovation and improving success rates. Many failures are not isolated incidents but rather cascades, where a problem in one system leads to the demise of others. This highlights the intricate interconnectedness of spacecraft systems and honestly the critical importance of redundancy and fault tolerance. Technical failures are a prevalent cause of mission loss, often stemming from the extreme conditions and complexity of spacecraft. Propulsion system failures, for example, can be absolutely critical. Issues with upper stages, main engines, or retro rockets often spell disaster. Luna 1960A's premature engine cutoff due to insufficient fuel, Mars 4's inability to enter orbit because of a transistor failure affecting its engine control, and the retro rocket failures of Luna 5, 6, 7, and 8 all serve as clear examples. The Japanese Nozomi mission also suffered from a malfunctioning valve that led to fuel loss, preventing orbital insertion. These incidents really underscore the immense difficulty of precisely controlling thrust and trajectory over such vast distances. Power system failures are another major concern. The sustained operation of a spacecraft depends entirely on its power source. Loss of solar power due to orientation issues or degradation or battery failures can quickly lead to communication loss and mission termination. Mars Phoenix, for instance, succumbed to severe damage to its solar panels during the Martian winter, while Phobos 1 lost contact after a software glitch caused it to lose sunlock and power. Communication system failures are also a huge risk. A spacecraft's ability to transmit data and receive commands is truly its lifeline. Probes going silent en route like Mars 1 and Zond 2, or after reaching their destination such as Mars 5 and Phobos 2, signify a complete loss of control and data. Pioneer 10 and 11, while successful for decades, eventually went silent due to the degradation of their power sources and the immense distances involved, making communication impossible. Onboard computer and software glitches can be just as devastating. The brain of a spacecraft, its computer system, is highly vulnerable to component failures or programming errors. The transistor failure in Mars 4's main computer, the software glitch on Phobos 1, and the ironic failure of Phobos 2's voting computers, where 2 out of 3 failed, are stark reminders of this vulnerability. The Mars polar lander's speculated premature engine shutdown due to faulty signals to its legs also points to a software or sensor interpretation issue. These challenges have really driven the development of more robust, self-diagnosing and redundant spacecraft systems, often incorporating multiple ways to achieve critical functions to increase the chances of success, even if individual components fail. While space exploration is, becoming more and more automated, human design, programming, and operational decisions are still at the heart of it all. Even what might seem like minor human errors can have honestly catastrophic consequences. Just look at the Mars Climate Orbiter. The infamous loss of the Mars Climate Orbiter back in 1998 is a pretty powerful example of how a simple oversight, the failure to convert English units to metric units in the ground software, can actually lead to the complete disintegration of a mission in the Martian atmosphere. This incident in particular really highlighted that sophisticated technology can actually amplify the consequences of even small human mistakes. It led to some major changes in NASA's mission management, software development, and quality control, putting a big emphasis on rigorous cross-checking and standardized units. And then there are procedural oversights. Even though they weren't deep space losses, things like leaving a plastic dust cover on an engine inlet during Gemini 6, or making incorrect software adjustments on STS-110, show just how procedural errors can affect mission success. These examples just reinforce the need for meticulous procedures and, of course, independent verification. The human element is, without a doubt, a constant factor in whether a space mission succeeds or fails. This reality has led to, stricter protocols, independent verification and validation processes, cross-disciplinary reviews, and much more reliance on simulation and testing to catch human-induced errors before launch. It's really a continuous effort to balance human ingenuity with human fallibility. Beyond all the technical and human factors, the space environment itself brings some truly immense inherent challenges. So, radiation and extreme temperatures. These harsh conditions in deep space can actually degrade electronics and power systems over time, like what happened with the transistors in Mars 4 or the solar panels of Mars Phoenix. Then there are the atmospheric entry challenges. The process of entering an alien atmosphere is just incredibly precise and violent, and failures can happen if the entry angle is too steep, as with the Mars Climate Orbiter, or because of landing system malfunctions like we saw with the Mars Polar Lander, Mars 2 and 3 landers, Beagle 2 or Schiaparelli. And let's not forget about distance and time delays. The massive distances involved in interplanetary travel mean that real-time intervention from Earth is just impossible due to light-speed communication delays. This makes it absolutely necessary to have spacecraft with high levels of autonomy and extremely robust systems that can self-diagnose and correct issues on their own. Failures that come from environmental factors or just the sheer vastness of space really highlight that the cosmos is a pretty hostile frontier. A spacecraft has to be designed not only to function, but to actually endure conditions that are so vastly different from what we have here on Earth. This is what drives innovation in materials, science, thermal control, radiation hardening, and autonomous systems, pushing engineers to, anticipate and design for just about every conceivable environmental stress. The history of spacecraft lost after leaving Earth's orbit, it's not just a simple list of failures, it's actually a profound testament to the inherent risks and, honestly, the formidable rewards of space exploration. Every lost mission, even though it's a setback, has given us invaluable scientific knowledge, sparked technological advancements, and, continued to inspire humanity's ongoing reach for the stars. These losses have directly fueled innovation, leading to the development of better engineering practices, more robust systems, and increasingly rigorous testing protocols. The meticulous investigations into each failure, such as those conducted for Mars Observer and Mars Climate Orbiter, provide critical data on design flaws, procedural shortcomings, and environmental interactions. This systematic approach to learning from past mistakes has dramatically improved the success rates of subsequent missions. Every lost spacecraft, in its demise, becomes a pioneer contributing to our collective understanding of the universe and the challenges of traversing it. The graveyard of these missions is, in essence, a vast library of lessons enabling humanity to push further and more safely into the cosmos. In total, approximately 33 spacecraft have been lost after successfully exiting Earth's orbit and failing to return, either by crashing, missing their targets, or becoming derelict and silent in the vastness of space. This count includes 12 lunar missions, 19 Mars missions, and 2 unique interstellar or return missions. Each of these missions, regardless of its ultimate fate, represents a significant step in humanity's journey of exploration. Despite the inherent risks and the high cost of these ambitious endeavors, humanity's drive to explore and push boundaries remains undimmed. New missions are constantly being planned and launched, equipped with lessons learned from past successes and failures, continuing to expand our understanding of the universe. The stories of these lost spacecraft serve as a powerful reminder of the immense challenges and the unwavering spirit that defines our quest to reach beyond Earth. What do you think is the most surprising or impactful lost mission? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this journey through the cosmic graveyard insightful, please like this video, share it with fellow space enthusiasts, and subscribe for more deep dives into the universe.